I've had people ask, like, how do you port these engines? How do you make more power out of these engines? Many times. I'm going to go more in depth. I've already done this side. I'm gonna show you, what it looks like before and after. And go through and I'll take some video of me using the Dremel. And opening these ports up. Specifically those two. Okay, so first of all, obviously you need to take your intake manifold, exhaust manifold, and your cylinder head off. Not a big deal, just a couple of bolts. Just be real careful not to snap any. Now, if we look on this side, see all the sharp edges in there? All right. Here, I'm gonna zoom in. See how sharp of an edge that is and how rough? You can see, where the drill bit went through there on the left-hand side of the screen there. If we look through this side, I'll do the same angle. You can see how I have smoothed it out. Haven't put this valve back in. You can see down in there, nice and smooth, no sharp edges. Now, all you have to do is you'll need one of these. This is like a $20 valve spring compressor off Amazon. And I did modify it a little bit. There used to be a wide lip and I cut that down with a grinder to make it flat to, help get in here and fit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this all apart, It's just two 5/16 bolts. You don't need to see me do that. I'm gonna pull this apart. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I have the valve cover off now. And you can see this spring retainer isn't like the exhaust ones. It doesn't have the little tapered bits. These are like the slide retainers. And that's the reason I cut that down. I can get in here and compress the spring flat and then move this piece by hand to take it off. That makes a big difference. It makes it a lot easier. That's why I cut it down. So here, I'll probably just time lapse me doing this. And there we go, valves out. This one needs lapped. I would recommend, the valves are already being pulled out of the motor. Just lap the valves. It don't take but another couple of minutes. And they're gonna seal good, other than this one, because this engine, this cylinder looks brand new actually, if I turn it over here. Maybe not on that side, but it has cross hatching still. This side looks like that. And that valve and valve seat was so rusty, it ain't gonna seal great. Anyways, it's not the point. Now that we have the valve out, you can just leave this crap in here for now. Now I'm gonna spin this engine around real quick and I'll show you how bad this port is and then probably time lapse actually porting it. Okay, look up in here. Look how crappy that is. See how sharp some of these edges are? Look at that. This crap, you don't want that. So I'm gonna probably scoot the engine back over here and I'll get in here and show you me actually opening this up. Now, you may not have been able to see perfectly in that, you know, kind of crappy time lapse, but look in here and see what I've done. This edge that was once pretty sharp is much smoother. This top edge up here that I was talking about, it's much smoother. And see, you can see more light through it. There was some rough patches down there. You can see that is quite smooth. All on the top, on the back. And as you can see, it's not too big of a deal. That was about 5 minutes worth of using the Dremel. And if you're worried about the aluminum in the cylinder and in there, if you have seen the inside of this engine, you probably wouldn't. You probably realize why I don't really care that much. This engine was in the scrapyard. So I'm only porting it because I have to lap the valves anyways, and they're already out, so I may as well, right? So now I'm going to put this valve back in after I lap it, and I'm going to get to work on that one. Okay, so pretty much to put the valve back in, you want to do, you know, obviously reverse what it was before. You do have to pull the spring out for this part. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the valve spring in here, in place, put the valve compressor tool on the end of the spring here and compress the spring flat. Line the tool up by hand into the slot in the valve, and then release the tool. If you're wondering why the engine's in a different spot and how I got the spring out, I was sitting here, like, pushing the valve back into the block, and the entire engine just fell over. Slammed onto the floor. Didn't hurt anything. It's an opposed twin, it don't matter. No, you don't want that to happen, preferably, but whatever. Okay, so I've already ported this exhaust now. And the reason for me not videoing that is it's pretty self-explanatory. You go through and make it larger. You can see, you know, less sharp edges and everything. Make it a lot smoother down through there. Pretty simple. And the only difference, the hardest part really, is getting the exhaust valves back in, because they use, where'd it go? They use these little, you know, taper retainers. And I don't have any grease. Pretty much what you want to do is you want to put a glob of grease on that so it sticks to the valve stem. Pretty much, you know, it glues it in place, and then you can release tension on the spring and it locks in place. Pretty simple. I probably won't film that because it's, you know, you just put a little bit of grease on them while the spring is compressed as tight as you can get. Stick them in place and slowly loosen it. But because I don't have any grease, I might try and just use Lucas. So, yeah, that's the end of this.